could begin work on refinishing this dresser, I had to remove all of the hardware from the drawers. So I started there. I just unscrewed all of those handles and placed them somewhere where I knew I wouldn't lose them. Next, I did a quick scuff sand of each of the drawers. Normally, if you're going to strip down a dresser to the bare wood, it takes much more sanding, but it's kind of necessary if you're going to restain a piece. Paint is a little bit more forgiving. You just want to scuff sand in order to make sure that the actual paint will adhere and stay on the wood. Then I went over everything with a wet rag. Even if I wasn't necessarily going to paint it, I still got all that dust off of it. But that is another thing that will definitely interfere with your paint job. If you have something that is lint-free, I would recommend using that. I knew better than to use a rag that was not lint-free, and I was paying for it fighting fuzzies for the majority of my time painting. So if you have something like an old t-shirt or just a lint-free rag that you got from the store, a microfiber rag, use that to wipe it down. You can use anything from just plain water or soap and water. Speaking of, in retrospect, having regrets on fuzzies and things getting in the way of my paint, I definitely cheaped out on these paintbrushes. They were a quick last-minute buy that I got for a project, and I was pulling brush bristles out of my wet paint and having to go over it and clean up that mess several times during this process. So another tip, definitely invest in a good paintbrush if you think that you'll be working on several different projects in the future. It's definitely worth it. I ended up putting about 3 layers of white paint on each of these drawers as well as the sides of the dresser. After finishing off the drawers, I did the same process, just rinsed and repeated with the sides of the dresser as well as the top. The top of it, I was undecided of whether or not I wanted to paint it or stain it, but I decided either way I would just strip it all the way down, take off all of the finish, and give it a nice, clean, and fresh top. Normally, if you're going to strip down a dresser to the bare wood, it takes much more sanding, but it's kind of necessary if you're going to restain a piece. Like I said, I took off the entire finish of the top of the dresser and I ended up restaining it. I kind of wish I had painted it white, but hindsight is 20/20. I went over it with my favorite stain, Golden Finish. I've found that leaving small details on pieces, like a band of exposed wood or just leaving something to make it a little different, really helps a dresser or whatever piece of furniture you're trying to refinish or flip pop. It just sets it apart. I chose to leave a natural accent with this dresser by keeping the trim on the middle of the chest of drawers as well as the base and in between each of the drawers, the original stain. So I left that little detail in order to make it just stand out and be a little bit more special. My nieces that would be using this dresser or chest of drawers are ballerinas and just really unique, fun, lovely, and lively girls. They're artists, and I thought it would be sweet for this wallpaper to go on the sides of the drawers. Just a fun, sweet little detail that I knew they would appreciate. I definitely did not do it, how should we say, professionally, properly. I did not have all the material that I needed in order for it to be perfect. I ended up using wood glue. You would want a wallpaper adhesive or a wallpaper glue. And I also, in retrospect, should have spread the glue out more evenly. I definitely worked really hard to try to make it as smooth and clean looking as possible. And to finish this baby off, I went over all of the scuffs and scratches on the original stain that I left and decided not to paint with. I went over it with something called Restore Finish. You could also use something like Old English, but It just helped to clean it up, make it a little sharp, new, fresh. It was a fun project, definitely something that I enjoyed doing for my nieces, and hopefully it will serve them well for the years to come.